Hi there. Sorry about that. Welcome to my other's keeper. Ahoy, Seventh Son. Nice to see you. Hi, Body Illusion. Nice to have you here. And of course, we have Krystal, one of our favorite guests. And today is going to be a little different for Krystal. We're going to be talking about what worked instead of the trauma, which, of course, it is related, but it's nice to be able to get to the point of healing. So, yeah. Hey, Daniel, nice to see you.
Hi, Daniel.
Yeah. I'm just going to share, as people come in, I'm just going to share what I've been doing today. So I've been making rings like this. Of course, it's not going to.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, Todd. It's not going to show you. Maybe it's because my nails are shiny.
I like your new nails.
Thank you. Come on, don't be like that. Fine, it's not going to show you nicely. They look much prettier in person. Yes. So, Todd, when are you going to come on my show next? Huh? I've got the 26th and the 28th. Ooh, Body Illusion is your red-haired goddess. How about me? My hair's reddish. No, Body Illusion is exquisite. I love her. Yes. So, Krystal, how you been?
Hello.
My camera a little bit. There we go. How you been?
Been okay.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of coughing, so sorry in advance.
That's okay.
I'm doing okay.
In a food coma on the 26th. Okay. 28th, 26th. Is that Thanksgiving? 26th? I thought the 28th was Thanksgiving. Anyway. Okay. Anyways.
The Thursday is the...
Yes, the Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But Todd might be celebrating it on a different day.
Yeah.
These things happen in my family too.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Mine too.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit. Third Thursday. Okay, so the third Thursday is the 21st. There we go.
Oh yeah, I guess pre-Black Friday sales start on Friday. This Friday. Go figure.
Yes, I don't do enough shopping elsewhere. That doesn't make a huge difference to me, I guess. So I'm just really grateful that my sinus infection has calmed down, and that's just 28th is Thanksgiving. Okay, I'm hearing different things from different people. Todd is saying third Tuesday, which would be the 21st. 7th is saying 28th. Let's fight it out.
Google it.
Google. I suppose I could. Yeah. Somebody Google it for me, because I'm Canadian and ours is already finished. So how's everybody doing today? Thanksgiving is the 4th Thursday of November. Okay. That's what I had thought it was, the 4th Thursday. But like I said, I'm Canadian. I don't know these things necessarily. So anyway, yeah, tell me. Let's start a new tradition. What is everybody drinking tonight? I've got my coffee with protein shake and oat milk. So coffee, protein shake, oat milk. What do you got there?
Pepsi. Water with Milo drops.
Okay.
Well, actually, technically, it's not Pepsi. It's Great Value Cola.
Okay. Ooh. Todd has A&W root beer. That's my favorite root beer. Water. And he's on his 3rd gallon. Oh, dude, are you floating yet? My word, my friend.
If I can get 3 of these down in a day, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Although,
Gallon.
since going back to work, I can usually get the first one down easily before my break at 8.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's after the break that it's harder for me to drink.
Todd's right. His eyeballs should be floating. Absolutely. Or his back teeth, one or the other. Yeah. So, yeah.
A good flush, anyways.
Pun intended.
Whichever.
Yes. Okay. Now, I am not using a microphone. Let me know. Give me just a let's see, what I don't want a 5x5 because I know my video's fine. So what should we use for a scale of 1 to 5? No, ones are still hugs and loves. So a scale of 2 to 6. 6 is really good. 2 is really bad. 2 is the poops. So
you sound good on my end.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. 7th. He has to make sure he's done drinking by 7 p.m. or it makes for a challenging morning. Forget that. It would make it challenging overnight. Wow.
Yep.
With that amount, I suppose your body does get used to it though.
Yep.
Like I am just so probably permanently dehydrated. My body just goes, okay, yeah, I'm just to put it through. I'm not going to absorb any of it. Yeah. Oh, well. Anyway, so.
At least Leo doesn't wake me up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night anymore. Oh,
That's good.
Wait. the middle of the night is 2
a.m.
usually 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. and that's when I'm getting up.
So thank you very much for staying up late to be on with us tonight. Yeah, you're usually in bed around 7 p.m., right? 6 or 7?
Well, yeah, 6 or 7 is when I'm trying to get to bed by.
Okay.
Sorry, the blanket.
Tomorrow, though. So
no, I'm traveling tomorrow.
You are traveling tomorrow. Tell people where you're headed.
Your place. Yay! Hey, Cosmic!
Hello, Cosmic. Yes, Krystal's headed over to my place tomorrow. And and then the night after that, we have on Thursday, there's going to be a recorded video of me putting together jewelry. And that's because I will be selling jewelry at a Christmas sip and shop. So people pay a little money, get a little glass of wine, and can go shop around at different handmade, homemade kind of places. So artists and artisans and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun. I've been there a few years and it's been a good experience every year. So let's get started. Cosmic's here, so we are definitely ready to party.
Yeah.
So let's get started. Let's talk about very, very quickly our road so far. Krystal grew up in a very dysfunctional home. She was SA'd by both of her brothers.
And my mother.
And your mother from the time you were itty bitty, just out of diapers until basically they left home from school, right? Yeah. So
with my brothers, it stopped between 12 and 14. With my mother, she continued until 18 years ago when I moved to the community I'm in now.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So people don't frequently think of moms as being that type of abusive. So it's one of those things where as a mom, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. But at the same time, when my kids were growing up, what I saw as just a regular affectionate something, my girls found offensive. So they would walk down the hall and my arm would go down and just give them a pat on the butt as they go by. I mean, nothing sexual meant at all, but they're like, Mom, don't do that. It's my butt. Like, sorry. So in that way, there is, my kids could claim that I was essaying them. I personally, that was not my intent. So I don't know. Is the abuser's intent, does that matter?
I don't really see that as abusive, although other people might.
Exactly.
When I say my mother was abusive sexually, I am meaning she walked around with no clothes on. She was constantly commenting on my developing body. She had to know exactly when my cycles were. She knew everything. She would walk in on me in the bathroom. We weren't allowed to lock the door. Even to the point where there was touching in a sexual manner.
That's terrible. As well, you were the one who had to bathe her and dry her off.
Yes.
Nobody's exactly sure why her dad didn't get that job. But for some reason, Mom insisted it was you. Did she ever insist it was the boys?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Okay, Cosmic, yes. So there's a massive difference, and it is intent. Yeah, there was no ill intent on my part. So I'm really grateful to hear that. Thank you. It puts my mind to rest, So yeah, that's good.
My mother was also physically, emotionally, spiritually, every form
all
of
around
abuse.
A horrible human. Yeah. Not very nice.
Narcissist to the T.
Fair.
And yet, to anyone outside our home, she was very much an encourager. One of her gifts was hospitality. The sad part is she had the gift of hospitality, but I was made to make the meals and do all the work to get ready for that. And those are not my gifts.
Yeah, for sure. You have to. Yeah, that's rough when you're forced to be put in that situation, right? Yeah.
Like I'm more one that likes to give gifts.
Same here.
And I guess in some ways an encourager. I think it's got to be the right person, though, if that makes sense.
It does. It does to a large extent. Yeah.
If there's somebody that I absolutely can't stand, I'm probably not going to give them encouraging advice.
I try anyways. I'm not sure how it's going to be received, but I try. No, for me and for my husband, physical touch, not necessarily sex, but just we're constantly touching each other. Krystal can tell you, maybe creepy sometimes. But no, like we're always like we've got a couch where I sit this side, he sits that side, and there's a thing in between us, like a center console between us, and my arm is always reaching across to be on his shoulder, or he's doing the same, or we're holding hands or whatever. It's who we are and have been for 34 years. On the 15th, it will be 34 years that we started dating.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I know, right? So that's when I consider my true anniversary, because that's the day when my life changed, is when Doug and I finally actually became a couple. So that changed my life. So so okay,
those kind of things too. 18 years ago, December 1st, is when my life started to change. About a year prior,
Yeah.
actually probably about a year and a half prior,
Mhm.
God started to put on my heart that I was to move. I had no idea where. I just knew I was going to be moving away from the small city that I was in.
Yeah.
And there was only really two places that I ever wanted to live. And one was close to my alma mater,
Mm-hmm.
Full Gospel Bible Institute is what it
Yeah.
was called at that point.
Yeah.
Or
It
as
doesn't
we
exist
jokingly,
anymore. So yeah.
well, it still does. It's just not in the same location. It's now
Oh,
in
in
it's actually
BC,
now in
right?
Regina. Nope, it's in Regina.
Oh,
It's just
FGBI?
moved. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's now Eston College, but
And they call it Eston College in Regina.
because it was Eston College before they moved down, and they can't change the name for something like 5 years, I think it is.
Probably charity reasons or something like that would be my guess.
Um, I I don't know if they'll ever change the name because it did. A lot of the Bible schools had to take the Bible out of their names
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for logistics sakes, um, because of those going overseas into areas where Bible training is frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it ended up being called Eston College.
When
So,
when I was going to Bible school, I went when I was 31 years old when I started, and they had changed, I think 3 or 4 years before that, they changed it from Bethany Bible Institute to Bethany College. Same
yeah,
reason, because
yeah,
people going say from college here and teaching English as a second language in Iran,
yeah,
going to a Bible school probably wouldn't be a real benefit. So if
no,
I were to go there as an English teacher, I would go, and I have a double degree in biblical and intercultural studies. I would simply drop the title of the biblical part, only claim the intercultural studies part and my teaching certificate. So that's what I would do. So, okay. So 18 years ago, you're in listener mode. Perfect.
yeah.
We're in just chat about anything mode. Um,
We're
So
getting
about
there.
18, we're getting there. We're getting there. So 18 years ago, you went to Eston.
Nope.
Oh,
In 1996, the fall of 1996 to December of 97, I went to Aston College, or
okay.
at that point, FGBI.
FGBI. Okay.
Um, one of my classmates, she said the year that she graduated, she says, "Fully guaranteed bridal institute. I want my money back."
Ring by
Because that
spring or your
was
money back. Yep.
yeah, that was of course, Bible
Yes,
schools were all
that's
called
right. Bridal
places to go
college.
find your mates.
Yeah. Well, especially for women, for some reason, I shouldn't say some reason, because it's sexist. Yeah, women were generally thought, oh, you're going to go to college. Ages ago, it would have been college for secretarial, teaching, whatever, to find a
Yep,
husband. And now it's go to Bible school, bridal school to find a husband.
yep,
Well, I already had a husband and 2 kids. I didn't need to find anyone new.
yep.
So I'm good that way.
I didn't find anyone either. So
Yeah, no one piqued
I
your
think
interest.
I well piqued my interest in serious relationships.
Very different. Yeah.
I've got a few male friends that were really good friends while I was there,
Mm-hmm.
and one is still a really good friend. Him and
Mm-hmm.
I keep in contact whenever we can. Hi,
Yeah.
Brian.
Hi, Brian.
So
Okay.
it's just, it's that part was just not part of who I was.
Right.
I think
That's
I'm
fair.
one of very few people at the age of 46 that can claim she has never once been on a date.
Fair.
The closest I have come to
Hello,
a
Maya. Nice to see
date,
you. Okay, yes,
the
please listen until
close
you fall asleep. We'll try to be boring enough that you can go to sleep. Okay, so
the
yes.
closest I came to going on a date
Yeah.
was a friend of mine was my grad escort,
Right.
and mom called it a date, and I'm like, this isn't a date, mom.
Yeah.
We're going
But
to grad and then going to a youth event.
and there are some people for whom that would have been a date, but for the two of you who were not romantically involved,
No,
it just wasn't. Yeah.
he was something like 5 years my senior, and he looked at me as a kid sister.
Which in your family wasn't always a good thing.
No, but
Yeah.
he was a good one. He was a good one.
He was one of the good guys. Yes.
Yes, he
Yeah.
was. He
Okay.
was actually there the very first time I shared my story in public. And when I talked to him afterwards, I said, "So, what do you think?" And he's like, "I'm here for you. If you ever need somebody to talk to, I'm here for you."
Oh, that is so wonderful.
He was actually in the younger of my two brothers' class.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
So he actually knew our family from
Yes.
before. Him
Oh,
and
yeah.
I, when I was in grade 7, I took part in drama, and him and I were doing the same play together.
Oh, okay.
So that's how him and I got to know each other to begin with. And then
Nice.
years later,
Just
we got
became friends.
together again through
Yeah.
youth group and Bible school. So yeah, 18, almost 18 years ago, I moved to the community I'm in now.
Mhm.
And in moving, I knew that I needed to move so that I could start to heal. Um, when I had moved to the community that I had been in,
Mhm.
I ended up not, I was in counseling for a while, and then in 2000, my counselor and I had to part ways.
Mm.
Couldn't take me any further,
That
and
happens.
she didn't know how to help.
Yeah.
And at that point, the only other option was to see a guy, and I was not
Mm.
going to see a guy. No, thank you. Some,
With the type of
it's
trauma
okay.
that you experienced, I
Right.
can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, there's Leo in the background. um, but no, I knew I needed to move, and thankfully, just before I moved, like maybe 6 months before I moved, I had gotten in contact with one of my cousins. She had been, actually, no, it would have been more than 6 months. She had been the flower girl at my mom and dad's wedding.
Oh,
And
wow.
when we did mom and dad's 35th wedding anniversary celebration, mom sent invites out to all of the ones that were part of the wedding party that we could get in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
Her one foster, actually both of her foster brothers were the candlelighters, and we could not find them.
Oh, okay.
Um, we don't know where they are. We completely lost track of them, and
That's too bad.
so it's kind of sad. We're not sure if they're alive or not, or what's going on. And
Yeah.
but my cousin said, yeah, she would come out if she could bring a friend of hers with her. And I think it was just to have somebody else with her for
Yeah.
driving and all of that stuff. It was a really good friend of hers. She is an RCMP officer.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I know where
her and
this is going.
yeah, I ended up sitting at the table with her because I wanted to get to know this cousin that I had always looked up to. And she ended up being kind of the catalyst that really helped me in preparing to move. At one point, I was thinking of looking at moving to Red Deer, Alberta. It was the only place close to where I wanted to live that had a Walmart. Because the community I'm in now only got their Walmart 18 years ago.
Right.
We got the keys December 1st, 06.
Wow.
And so it's been 18 years since I've been in the store.
That's
right
awesome.
from the get-go.
Awesome.
But she really helped, and she started to help me see that, you don't have to go back to see that same counselor. You can request somebody else.
Yeah.
And thankfully by then there was other counselors in mental health in that community.
Right.
There hadn't been very many a few years before. And so I went back to a counselor shortly before I was leaving.
Timing.
But she really helped me. She gave me some information that I could use. I was going to be staying in the bigger city for about 3 weeks for training before moving to my community that I'm in now. And she gave me some information, and she gave me a place that I could go and ask questions. I was just starting to kind of question my sexuality and some of that stuff. And so she gave me information on a place that I could go that could maybe answer some of my questions. Now, the really cool thing, the lady that I ended up talking to at this place ended up being one of the staff members at a treatment facility that I went to probably about 6 months later, not even 6 months later. The name of the place that I'm going to be talking about, and I'm saying the name only because it does not exist anymore. It shut its doors in 2012 due to lack of government funding. Which is sad because it was an absolute amazing place. It was called Tamara's House. And it was an in-treatment facility where most of the stays were 2 weeks at a time. And you could have one-on-one therapy if you wanted. There was also groups, so art groups, talking groups, even just the people that were in the house just talking during downtimes in the evenings out on the balcony, because the majority of them were smokers and you couldn't actually smoke in the house, you had to be outside. And so I would quite often go out on the balcony with them, and you'd get into really good conversations just doing whatever, doing life. And I learned so much about myself when I went there. The very first time, I ended up going to the crisis center in the community I'm in now, because the only other adult counselor in the community at that point was a male. They
Right.
only had one. They only had one male, or only one adult services counselor in mental health.
Okay.
And at that point, even the crisis center didn't have very much for counseling. So I'm sitting there, I'm talking with this lady, and she's telling me about this place that is absolutely incredible. You go, and so she gave me the information. And the information talked a lot about how this place had a lot of the native spirituality and stuff. And so I had asked her about it because I'm not completely comfortable with the natives, like all of the native spirituality stuff. Some of it I'm okay with. We grew up close, I grew up close to a reserve, and they quite often did powwows and stuff, and I always found it very difficult in my spirit when they would do the powwows. I couldn't be in the gym when they were doing them in the gymnasium and stuff. I found it for myself, it was too difficult. Some people are fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was just, and that's nothing against their Leo. They don't
Your
need to see
cultural
you.
practice. Well,
Yeah.
please show Leo. He is gorgeous. But yeah,
Okay.
nothing against their cultural practice. Hi, Leo. But yeah, like I've been to quite a number of powwows, and I
Yeah.
went with an indigenous guy, and it was a Remembrance Day powwow, and he instantly got very uncomfortable because he's like, "This is a war chant. I don't want to be here for this." Like, okay, we're out of here. And that was my first powwow, but I've been back to several since, and just that one, because of what the chant was, he was uncomfortable. So I figured I'd defer to the expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was told that that part is not, I don't know how to word it. It doesn't have to be part of your experience there.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then the day that I got there for my first stay, I walked into this house and there's native stuff, like native art and everything all over the place. And I'm greeted by 3 or 4 native workers. And I'm going, okay, I thought this was supposed to be kind of not really native focused.
Yeah.
Because all the people that I was seeing were native.
Right.
Nothing against them. I found some absolutely incredible native people while I was in there and got to know some, and hearing their stories about how they were fighting to get better so they could get their kids back, and how they were being treated wrong by social services.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And it was just heartbreaking. But that first time that I went, this was a whole new experience for me. This was a place where you could take down the masks and work on your stuff and be concentrated for a good couple of weeks before you had to go back into society.
Yeah.
And that was the part that ended up drawing me in further and further, I guess, in a sense. The very first day that I was there, I was dropped off and I was given my room. Each of the rooms was actually named after Krystal, and mine was named after quartz.
Okay.
So And that ended up, and I'm not really into the whole different meanings of that stuff and whatever, but that was how they did it,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever.
Yep.
And so they gave me the room that I was in, and I got my stuff put away, and then I found out that there was going to be a group. And this was just after lunch. I had had lunch just before I got there and everything, and so I found out where the group was going to be. It was actually going to be down in the basement, which sometimes can be a problem and sometimes can't.
It depends on the type of basement and how you get down
Yes.
there. Like if it's
Yeah.
nice and expansive, I can imagine it wouldn't be as much of a problem.
It wasn't too bad. Once we were in the actual room that they were using, it was okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The hallways were a little bit iffy.
Okay. Okay.
But that's because of my experience and most of my abuse happening down in the basement.
That's right. Yeah.
When I was growing up. They also had a clothing room down there where if you needed things, you could go through there and kind of look. I actually got a really nice winter jacket that way.
Ooh, nice.
So, yeah, and wore it until I couldn't anymore.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
But that first group was led by a white lady. and I say that because she was one of the first white people that I had seen since getting there. And I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe there are.
Was this treatment center in our province or was it on the coast?
Yes. Nope. It was
here.
It was in the city close to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So she started this art group, and I find it really hard to draw things.
Mm-hmm.
I used to draw back when I was in grade 8 and 9. Since then, I haven't really been able to draw very well. I kind of lost it.
Yeah.
And we were asked, and of course, because I'm me, I chose to sit on the far side of the table because the wall was right behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was literally I'm sitting on the wall furthest from the door and in behind. And if I remember correctly, there was a lady on both sides of me as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's
the safest part of the room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the facilitator.
Anybody murdering people would have to go through everybody else before they got to you. Yeah, I know, demonetized, whatever. But
plus, we were all survivors of childhood.
Exactly.
SA. So we all wanted to get so that nobody could come behind us.
Yep. Okay, well, she chokes to death.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
So the facilitator's at the one end of the table, and she's telling us, and she said, I want you to draw anger. And I'm going, what does anger look like? I didn't know. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what any emotions looked like.
Mm-hmm.
There was no concept. Mm-hmm. We weren't allowed to show anger. We weren't allowed to show anything, even happiness, unless Mom allowed it.
Yeah.
If we were too happy, she would get mad at us. If we were mad or upset, she would get mad at us.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Indigo.
Hi, Indigo. I just noticed. Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there going, what does this look like? How do I draw it? And of course,
Mm-hmm.
that frustrated me because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand what she was wanting us to draw. And that frustrated me to no end because if I can't answer the question correctly and know how to
Mm-hmm.
answer the question correctly,
Right.
I freeze. So because all the emotions were starting to build up in me, and at that point, now guaranteed, I did cry when I was in the bad treatment facility in Ontario.
Right.
I cried quite a bit, but
Mm.
that was the only time I had ever cried when it came to anything to do with counseling. So here I am sitting in this room and I can feel the tears coming up and I'm going, "Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get out of here." So I
Mm-hmm.
bolted. I literally bolted out of the room, going past the people that were
Mm-hmm.
sitting beside me and past the facilitator and ran out of the room, ran up to the main floor, up to the upstairs and into my bedroom, shut the door, and of course our door's locked,
Mm-hmm.
and I cried and I cried and I
Mm.
could not get myself to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually I kind of got myself figured out
Mm-hmm.
and it was time to go down to help get supper because everyone in the house kind of helps get the meal prepped
Right.
and we sit down and eat together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went down, and by that time, the lady that was there that did the group,
Mm-hmm.
she had gone home for the day,
Mm-hmm.
and another lady was there as staff who would be staff until I think 11 o'clock was the next changeover.
Mm-hmm.
And they overlapped a few hours, except for the night one. And the lady that came on for the evening shift, she, um, she really pushed me. She talked
Mm-hmm.
with me, and at one point, all of the ladies were smokers. So I went out onto the balcony with them.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do that with some of my friends that I worked with that were smokers. I would go out every now and then and have
Mm-hmm.
coffee with them when they went out for their smokes.
Their breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there talking with these people and um I just the staff member ended up cornering me
Mm-hmm.
and wouldn't let me go back into the house.
Okay.
And because like the balcony was this little and there was no stairs or anything off the balcony, it was the
Mm.
only way you could get onto the balcony was through the door of the house, which was a safety feature
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
for our own safety from the outside world.
Uh-huh.
So she kind of cornered me and I'm like, what? And she looked at me and she says, "What happened today?" And I'm going, I don't want to say anything
Uh-huh.
because I knew that if I said anything, I was going to cry. because the tears were starting to well up again.
Mm-hmm.
And she pressed it. She was like, "What happened today?" And so finally I'm like, "What do you mean?" She says, "I hear you bolted from group."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Mm-hmm." She goes, "Why?" And I finally had the courage that I said I was going to cry. And I don't cry in front of other people. And of course, as I'm saying it, the floodgates just opened and I'm a bucket of tears.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And she says,
Once that
"Why don't
dam
you?"
breaks, you can't stop it anymore. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's broken.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, "What's wrong with crying?" And I said, "Crying is weakness."
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, the group was kind of a talk group where
Mm.
we were just in the uh, the living room and just talking, and they had the flip chart that they were writing stuff down on. And one of the very first things, both that this staff said that first evening and what came out more than once,
Mm-hmm.
um, more than once during those that what ended up being 3 weeks is my
Mm-hmm.
first stay.
Okay.
Um, the the theme kept coming up over and over again. You need to feel to heal.
Mm-hmm.
You need to cry to heal. Let it out to heal. Another thing I learned right at the get go, and this one I have now been able to, I can control
Mm-hmm.
a large, and and a lot of us as survivors, if we really look at it, we'll probably see that this holds true. Um, and thankfully, I've been able to change it. If somebody starts to cry, what is what is most people's first response?
Oh, don't cry. Here, let me help you feel better.
Partially that, but what is the physical thing that they will do? Yep, they will hand you a Kleenex box. They will hand you a Kleenex. Oh, here you go. And in most people's mind, what that says is, "Oh, I have to stop crying." And this was actually brought up by a couple of the ladies that were there that first time. And so it was actually, there was Kleenex strategically around rooms.
Yeah.
You were not allowed to pass the Kleenex box unless somebody asked you, "Can you pass me a Kleenex?"
Okay.
Because there's that automatic response in our thinking that, "Oh, I need to stop crying because I'm making somebody else uncomfortable."
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
So I've actually been able to get to the point where if um, if somebody offers me a Kleenex, I will say no thanks until I am ready to take a Kleenex because I know that those tears need to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've refused the Kleenex from you a couple of times too.
Once or twice.
Because I don't want to stop the crying
Yeah.
because it might make somebody uncomfortable that I'm crying.
That's right.
And
loving failure is correct. It's a cue. The Kleenex handoff is like, okay, it's time to be done now. Here, and that's part of saying, I want to help you feel better, which is said with love.
Yeah.
But it doesn't allow for as much of the sovereignty. That's right. It's restoring sovereignty. They have the right to themselves, their own emotions, their own healing, their own all of that.
Yeah.
You can aid in how they ask you to. Sometimes you don't know necessarily the words that you need to use to ask for help.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a big thing. I didn't know the words.
Yeah. And that's so much of what it is we don't know the words to say to learn how to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Within that probably the first 2 days, the manager, who mainly just did office work, she had actually come up into the residence, and I happened to be in the kitchen when she came in. She was looking for coffee or something, I can't quite remember. And I ended up talking with her, and at that point, I was still very much, if you're an authority figure, I'm standoffish.
Are you standoffish or you stand back? Standoffish means I'm going to get in there.
I would shrink. I would literally shrink.
Yeah.
Because this is the person in authority. Am I allowed to talk to them?
Yeah.
But she was so easy to talk to, and we got talking. And of course, I was struggling with my inner child, my other personality.
Your other personality?
Yeah.
Is that something you're comfortable talking about? Not today?
Not too much, no.
Okay.
So I got talking to her about the inner child work, and I said that's something I would be kind of interested in doing. And she said, okay, we can get everybody together and do an inner child group. So we ended up going up, and they have a room in the house. It was actually upstairs. It was, I can't remember the name of it. I think it was the healing room or something like that. It was just a small little room, and we all sat down cross-legged on the floor, and she started to guide us through getting and talking to our inner child. Everybody was doing good. Everybody, there was about 3 staff, about 3 other ladies in residence at that point, and myself. And we're sitting in the circle. Nobody's touching each other. And we're instructed to close our eyes and concentrate and kind of calm yourself down. And I was doing fine. And then they said the magic words.
The F word?
Now that no.
Oh, okay.
Now that
for Krystal, the F word is feeling. It's not the typical F-bomb.
Yeah. She said, as you start to calm down and calm your breathing and stuff, she says, now what I want you to do is start to go downstairs. No! Because you're supposed to imagine this. Now, the majority of my abuse happened downstairs.
Yeah.
And some of those times, it was literally him picking me up, my oldest brother picking me up. Sometimes quite a bit of force, and taking me down the stairs. The one time, just about dragging me down. And so having to visualize going down stairs to do this. I felt myself starting to leave.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we were supposed to sit in a rocking chair and rock our inner child, and I'm completely gone by then. I'm like, no.
Yeah, your inner child has already taken over, and she's not happy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, okay, I need to protect.
Yes.
And so we went into full protection mode.
So tell people what that means. I know what you're saying, but tell other people. Loving failure is new high. And Chu, I believe I saw, is new. Maya, I'm not sure if you've listened before.
Chu and Maya have been on.
Have they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Loving failure is the only one that I can see that's new.
Okay.
For me, when I shut down, my whole body freezes. When my inner child / other personality takes over, a lot of times I'll freeze. And I will not move. And I will literally, I don't know if I was physically rocking back and forth, but I could feel myself kind of rocking back and forth. There was no consciousness of what was going on around me. I became this stock still and started to close in on myself. Like physically bring my arms in and become smaller.
Yeah.
And that's how I stayed. And as we're going through this, and I don't know how long the whole time took. I remember them saying to sit down in a rocking chair and start to rock your inner child. After that, I don't remember anything else. The next thing I remember is I could sense that people were moving around, standing up, moving around in the room. I could not move. I was trying my hardest to come out of wherever I was. And it took, I think they said it was about 10 minutes before I started to actually become aware of what was going on.
Okay.
And like after people started going around.
Right.
And when I finally came back enough that I could actually talk with staff, they said to me something that nobody had ever said to me before that hit me to the core. This was a place where when I first got there on intake, they asked me, who were your abusers? More than one.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever asked me that before. It was always surprise when they found out that I had more than one.
That's right.
But as I came out of this, they looked at me and they said, "You've never not known fear, have you?"
Yeah. And you haven't.
That, for me, was huge.
Yeah.
That day I asked for an extension. Because we were allowed to ask for extensions if we needed to.
Yeah.
And so I ended up staying for 3 weeks that first time.
Instead of the typical 1 or 2?
Instead of the typical 2.
Oh, okay.
The first stay was usually 2 weeks for sure.
Okay.
After that, like there was once or twice that I stayed for a week, just
Mm-hmm.
because I was in crisis and needed to calm down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to say to me, "You've never not known fear," I now know, and I'm assuming I was probably in utero while it was happening. My mother would hit my one brother's head against the kitchen floor.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
The older or the
I'm
younger of the two?
the younger. I'm assuming I was in utero when some of that was happening. I did not bond with my mother. Um, if she tried to hold me like you would normally hold a baby to feed them, even bottle feed them, I would push her away, like physically push her against her body to push away from her.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was a sick baby as well, so didn't help.
Yeah.
But probably 4 or 5 days into my first stay,
Mm-hmm.
the lady who had been the facilitator of that first group that I was in
Mm-hmm.
came back for another shift.
Mm-hmm.
Now, her shifts were usually overnight shifts. She did
Mm-hmm.
some afternoon ones, but a lot of hers were either afternoon, evening, or overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And she was one that I really connected with. She was actually one of the 3 founding ladies that started Tamara's house.
Wow.
And it was built on biblical foundation,
Mm-hmm.
taking Tamar, who was King David's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
who had been essayed by her brother,
Mm-hmm.
Absalom. And
Nope.
in.
Nope, not Absalom. Absalom's the one who saved her.
Oh, okay. Which one? I
Yeah.
can't remember which one it was.
I can't remember
But
his
anyways.
name, but no, Absalom was the one who saved her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the logo for Tamara's house was a T and an H. And at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the T and the end of the 2 H crosses, they had a teardrop. So there was 3 teardrops. The one was for Tamar
Mm-hmm.
and those that went before.
Mm-hmm.
The middle one was those who are in recovery now. And then the third one is for those who will come after.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the teardrops that we need to cry, to heal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when this lady came back for her next shift, she saw me and she said to me, she said, "You're still here." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, when you bolted." And I didn't know until she talked about me bolting. I didn't know that it was the same person.
Oh,
because I had
now
no
your brain would have just disconnected from that.
I had no cognitive that the face that I was looking at was the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said to me, she said, "Well, you bolted your first day here, and I thought you were going to leave." And I looked at her and I said, "I am not a quitter." So regardless of how hard it would have been, I would have stuck those 2 weeks out, regardless.
That's right.
But I said to her, "Well, actually, I'm staying for a 3rd week."
Yep.
But I found this to be a place where I could go for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I could take those masks down
Mm-hmm.
that when you go into a counseling session, whether it be an hour or 2 hours or however long that counseling session is,
Mm-hmm.
it takes you a few minutes to take down the masks
Mm-hmm.
and feel comfortable to be able to open anything up. And then you got to put those masks back on because you go out and face the world
Mm-hmm.
and you have to present yourself as
That's
presentable
right.
to the world.
That's right.
Where with this place, you could take those masks down and you didn't have to put them back on right away. So I could take down those masks for a couple of weeks, work harder on my shit,
Mm-hmm.
and not have to feel like I'm having to be okay for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
because I didn't really know anybody in that city very
Mm-hmm.
much,
Mm-hmm.
even when, like, as I got to know that place, I got to know the city. I would walk from there downtown, which was across the one of the bridges, and
Yeah.
so it took about 20 minutes to get from there to the downtown bus depot.
I
And then
think I
I'd
used
go
to
on
live
a
just
bus.
down the street from where Tamara's house was, if I recall
Oh, okay.
correctly. Yeah. This would have been early
I would
90s.
I would go across the Victoria Bridge to get
Mm-hmm.
downtown,
Mm-hmm.
which is now just a walking bridge.
No, it's not. No, it's a traffic bridge.
Oh,
Yeah.
Victoria. What?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the old bridge that they had to take down.
No, they didn't take it down. They fixed it all. No, it's a traffic bridge. It's now called the traffic bridge.
Oh,
They don't call it the
okay.
Victoria Bridge anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the Victoria Bridge was a beautiful old.
It still is.
Oh,
It's still gorgeous. Yeah. They kept like they kept all of the character, added a whole
okay.
pile of safety features, which was the problem.
Awesome. Because I thought I had seen video of it being demolished.
I don't think so.
Whichever. That's
Anyway,
okay.
neither here nor
But
there for the moment.
yeah, but I was able to do a lot of walking, and
Hmm.
I learned what the bus route was out to one of the Walmarts, which at that point only went so far because it was a brand new subdivision. You'd
Mm-hmm.
never know it now.
Yeah.
I was having to pretty much go through muddy area to get to,
Yep.
at that point, the newest Walmart in that community.
Yeah.
And now there's like houses completely
And
built up.
there's like
Everything
the
is
giant
just,
big box stores all around and stuff like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
not so close to my doctor's office. So,
Yeah. Not far at all.
so yeah, I'd walk there and I would walk all over the place. And I just enjoyed being there. And
Mm-hmm.
when I first started walking to this Walmart, I had been taking the bus out, and it got to a point I'm like, this is ridiculous to be standing for 15 minutes at a bus stop. Let's see how far I can walk before I catch up to where the bus is.
Yeah.
Nah, I got all the way out there before the bus ever passed me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but it gave me a place where I could start to become myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do a little bit of exploring what my sexuality is.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually do a lot until years later,
Mm-hmm.
but I was able to comfortably come to a position where I was okay with it, um, to the best of my knowledge at that point, which is different than now. It was there that um, close to Christmas, the first year that I lived in the community I'm in now, so I'd been here for about a year, I was
Mm-hmm.
starting to have some memories come up. One absolutely powerful one that, and my parents decided that they were going to surprise me and come down to my community.
Yep.
Thankfully, that was back when I had to do an evening shift.
Yeah.
We had to do one evening shift a week, and that happened to be my evening shift night. Thankfully, I did not want them to see because I had moved into the trailer about 6 months earlier. I didn't want them in that space.
That's your space. This isn't a them
Yeah,
space, right?
yeah.
This is
This
where
was
you were
something
able to be yourself.
I had bought. I had
Yeah.
become an adult when I moved here
Oh yeah.
and made a big adult decision, and I
You're a
didn't
grown ass
want them in
adult.
that space. Amazing.
Exactly.
But they ended up bringing down the trunk that had my dolls and a bunch of other stuff
Mm-hmm.
from growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, you bought your own place, so you can have all your crap.
Yeah. Well, as a parent, I understand that.
And that is the only reason that my mother ever stepped foot in my trailer.
Right.
And that was because they had to come to my place to drop the stuff off. But
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, I only had an hour break.
Ah, so it was nice and short.
So there was, yes. And so we brought the trunk in and we put it where it would work.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the mistake that night of opening the lid of the trunk.
Mm.
And
Oh, yeah.
immediately, immediately, panic set in. And
Yeah.
these images that had been starting to come up flashed through my head. And the only thing I could see was about that much, the bottom half of the legs to a doll. That's it. And that sent me into a panic.
Mm-hmm.
That doll was wearing a yellow flower dress. And these were the images that were going through just in flashes. And I ended up going back and looking up in my photo albums. Actually, what I ended up doing was that night, a lady who I'd become good friends with, she was the one that drove me home because we worked the night shift together so that I could get rides home.
Mm-hmm.
I asked her, I said, I need you to do me a favor. And this doll was out already in a plastic bag. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, what I need you to do is I need you to come in. What I need you to do is I need you to go open that trunk. And I went down the hallway because the trunk was in the living room. I said, I need you to go and I need you to open that trunk. And you're going to see yellow knitted legs of a doll. I need you
Mm-hmm.
to remove that doll and keep it at your place until I ask for it back.
Yeah. You had to be ready to see it. Now, people have no idea why that was a trigger for you. Are you comfortable talking
Yeah.
about that? Okay.
I ended up going back in my photo albums to try and find the dress that doll had on.
Mhm.
I knew it was a doll, this doll had been what we used each year. We acted out the Christmas story. And so one year, my oldest brother would play Joseph, and the other one would play the shepherds and the wise men. And then the next year, the younger of the two would play Joseph, and the older would play the wise men and the shepherd and all that.
Mhm.
And so I'm looking back to try and find the picture of this doll. And I
Mhm.
found it in my second Christmas. So it was a year and a half. Now the flashes that had been coming were of me wearing that dress under the base of the Christmas tree with my oldest brother laying on top of me.
You were very literally a baby. And by then he was already victimizing you.
He had already been starting. That was the first time that it had started by playing doctor.
Mhm.
And this was the first time that he laid on top of me to heal me in the plane of doctor.
Mm.
And that is one reason why, as it comes close to Christmas, I struggle so much. Beyond other reasons. But it
Yeah.
ended up being, I was finally ready to deal with that memory. It ended up being the very last time that I was at Tamara's house. I was ready to deal with it. And the hard part is when something like that happens pre-verbally,
Yeah.
it's very hard to process.
Oh, yeah.
And I ended up in a rudimentary kid-like fashion drawing a picture to be able to start to process it better
Mhm.
and understand things better. And it
Mhm.
literally looked like a 3 or 4 year old was scribbling this picture.
Mhm.
But you could tell what it was representing. And that was the only way that I was able to deal with that memory. But through the course of the times that I went to Tamara's house,
Mhm.
I learned about the abuse from my mother.
Mhm.
In some ways, I always knew, but I really started to come to terms um, with what she had done and to the extent of what she had done.
Mhm.
It was while at Tamara's house that I wrote her a letter and I said, there will be no contact going forward.
Boundaries.
You are not allowed to phone, to come
Mhm.
down, to email. The only way you can contact me is through snail mail letters only.
Mhm.
so that I could have a support person with me when I would open those letters. Not that
And
they
the
could
time to
even
prepare
see.
yourself.
Yeah, not
Right?
that in me reading the letters to support people, they had
No.
no clue what was actually being said. Oh, well, that
Mhm.
sounds okay. And I'm like, well, this is what she's not saying and saying
Yeah.
between the lines. Because us kids
Yeah.
got so good at learning how to read between the lines.
Yep.
The one Christmas letter said something along the line as, and this was the year after I had told them no contact. She says, "Oh, Krystal's been really busy and we don't get a chance to talk to her very much." And you could just hear the undertone going,
Yeah.
yeah. Why can't
Yeah.
you get your button gear and actually. But she had actually, about 2 months after I had sent the original letter, and I made sure that they actually mailed it because I knew I would check it out.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so they mailed it, and a couple months afterwards, she actually phoned and left a message on my answering machine. The second I heard her voice, I freaked out.
Sorry. Just, yep. I know that feeling. Goosebumps. And not
and you
because I'm wearing this. Yeah.
and you probably remember my mom's voice,
Yes, I
possibly.
do to a degree.
Yeah,
But for me, the goosebumps is because of the trauma that I suffered at work. And then hearing that guy's voice, just
yeah,
that's the day I lost it. That's the day I had a nervous
yeah.
breakdown. So I know the power, the visceral power of a voice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I again that day sat down and wrote another letter. And I more or less said in it, I said, I told you no phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you can contact is snail mail letters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the message that she left, it was to let me know that one of the ladies that was part of the toddler room that I worked in and when I was in the small city had had another baby,
Hmm.
and she was letting me know that they had another baby and what the name was and everything, and I'm like freaking out.
Yeah.
That's the second.
As she goes to yell at Leo because he's being a bad boy. I heard your mouth go, Leo.
He's down the hall crying, so it's
Oh,
just to get him to come down
yeah.
so you're not hearing him crying. One of the other things that I learned and started to deal with when I was at Tamara's house was I identified my addiction.
Mm.
And at that point, it was very bad, um, to the point where while I was there and learning about how bad it was, I phoned my pastor's wife, who at that point was my mentor. And I asked her, I said, when I come home, can you help put a block on my computer so that I cannot go to the sites that I shouldn't? Um, Meaning
The sites
porn.
with people being sexual with each other and such.
Yeah. And for the rest of her life, and about 2 years after she passed, because she had already paid, I think she had paid for 5 years, just before,
Mm.
like the year before she passed.
Mm-hmm.
So there was and I asked my pastor about it, and he says, "Well, I don't know anything. It goes to an email that was just hers. I don't have access to that email. It's already been paid up.
Yeah.
It's still on there." And he didn't know how to take it off.
Yeah.
So
And nor should he.
no,
You
and
know.
it was a good thing because I probably would have ended up going there.
Mm-hmm.
And I will admit, I have gone there a bit since those blocks have come off,
Mm-hmm.
but not near to the amount that I was on them before the blocks were put on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm forever grateful for her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had an incredible time at Tamara's house, learning who I was, learning how to deal with trauma, learning that it's okay to cry and that you have to cry. And those
Mm-hmm.
are those things that are so. I learned who I was. I
Mm-hmm.
learned to embrace my inner child or my other personality to the point and she actually, the fun side of her came out, and one of the
Mm-hmm.
other dissociative identity disorder, one of the other clients that had that was there, the one time I went in for a week because, well, for they were going to be closing for a couple of weeks so that staff could have holidays and they could
Mm.
do some more deep cleaning of the
Right.
house.
Yeah.
And so I was only able to be there for the 1 week, but I needed it anyways. And so this one girl and myself, one of her alters and my alter, both about 4 years old, walked to the park, which was probably about a block and a half away,
Mm-hmm.
and played at the park for a little bit. And for somebody like me who does not take socks off unless it's to put new ones on or to
Mm.
take a bath or shower,
Mm-hmm.
the socks came off before we left for the park, and I wore just
Wow.
my sandals. And when we got to the park, the sandals came off. I've only done that one other time, and that was when we went to the sandhills.
Ah, yes.
And you have to take them off
You
because
do.
you get
You really
sand
do. Or else,
everywhere. You're
yeah.
you're literally 3 or 4 showers later, you're still got sand
Getting sand out from between your toes. Yeah.
and everywhere else.
And everywhere else. Yes.
Especially considering I literally buried myself except for my head in the sand.
You're silly.
My favorite picture from when we went to the sandhills, my friend and I, was for my birthday. All you can see is these two little toes. You can't even really tell that they're toes, but there's these two little things sticking out of the sand. It's my toes.
That's awesome.
I'll
That's
show you that one
excellent.
tomorrow.
Perfect.
But just learning who I was and
Yeah.
having a chance to heal
Yeah. And
and
having
start
who
that
you were
healing.
be okay,
Yeah,
right? You didn't have to feel shame. You didn't have to feel fear. You didn't have to feel less than,
yeah,
right? You could be respected and loved and celebrated for who you are, not who somebody else wants you to be.
yeah. the first time that I was there, there was a staff member that her and I didn't really get along very well. And then the last weekend, like I was going to be leaving on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I think it was, or maybe it was Monday night. But anyways, that last weekend, I was going to be the only person in residence.
Oh, wow.
So I literally had one-on-one with staff.
Wow.
Whenever. And I found out that this one staff member was going to be there that I wasn't getting along with. And so I had talked to this staff member that had cornered me out on the balcony. And I said to her, I said, like, what do I do? Because her and I have kind of clashed. And she said to me, she says, just maybe talk to her. Let her know what's going on. Well, her and I ended up talking that evening. And she was going through some tough times. The best part is every one of the staff members had been there. Every one of them was a survivor of childhood SA. Not necessarily a client.
Okay, but had been in your situation or similar enough.
The lady that had been part of that first group, she was told by psychiatrists that she would never hold down a regular job. She had over 200 alters at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. She went on to integrate all of her alters, which I guess takes a lot. Because each one breaks off at a different trauma. And so each one of them, you have to grow them up from the time, like if they're 4, you have to grow them up to adult. And they have to deal with their stuff that they remember to slowly grow up.
I can't imagine how much work that would take.
Wow. It takes years. One of the ladies had one of her alters integrate just before I got there.
Wow.
And she was still in the grieving process when I got there, because she was having to grieve this personality that had actually just given birth about a month before she came to the house. And so it was even harder because she was integrating this personality who had carried the baby. Now, yes, the host had carried it, but it was that girl, that
who took
personality, who had been the one that came out from that conception.
Right. Wow.
And yeah, it's crazy. But she was still in that grieving process.
Oh, for sure.
And she had learned to have meetings of all of her personalities.
Okay.
So that
we're going to have a Zoom call, and she's the only one on it. Yeah. Yep. I use humor to deflect. Sorry.
I ended up missing it. I think I went upstairs or something, or I was still out on the balcony or something, but the night before we were all supposed to leave that time, all of her personalities that had shown up through the time she had been at Tamara's house She allowed them to come out, and they all said goodbye. And I missed it.
Oh,
That would have been incredible because I think there was about,
been
I think she said there
amazing.
was about 25 or 30 different personalities. And of course, they all show up differently.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
they all
yeah.
show up at different ages.
But the fact that she could bring them out at will, that takes a lot of work as well.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
But the staff members knew what we were dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's Leo's tail. But yeah, I learned so much there. And just to be able, when I was there, I wasn't able to talk about the details very much because I still couldn't talk about the details. Talking about the details of what happened, like I've written them out, or Lynn has written them out.
Indigo's right. Leo knows you need a snuggle.
Shut up for the 2 minutes that he can sit before he's gone again.
He has ADHD. He's a cat.
He's a ginger cat.
Hey, what are you saying about gingers?
Spicy.
Yes, we are.
That's why I love them so much.
That's right.
But I gotta find them a new place, a new home.
Yeah. So anybody needs a ginger cat, give us a shout. We'll see what we can arrange.
Well, I think most of the people that are on here are a little far away.
That's okay. Anyways, so yeah.
But yeah,
Tamara's
it just
was huge. Huge.
It was. It was. I ended up reconnecting with somebody that I had known years before. And that was kind of cool. And that's what I'm not going to say too much about that for her own privacy, but we were in residence the one time and she tried to say fucked up family. And it came when we were talking about family of origin. And she went to say fucked up family and it came out fuff. So for the rest of the time that we were there, and every time we saw each other afterwards,
it was fuffed.
It was fuff. And we knew what it meant.
Yeah, okay. I think you and I could probably use that one because we both have pretty much puffed. Yeah.
Yep. Indigo, yes, I can take one of my kitties. I cannot take them both when I move to the apartment.
And you get your passport, I'll give you a place to stay. You know, like Krystal, you'd have to get kicked out of your room. But beyond that, that was my turn to blow my nose this moment.
But yeah, it was a place like no other. A place where you could heal. One of the things that I did on one of my later stays, and it was a whole weekend of fun had been put into, and we could do, and there was more than one staff that was there to do it. We had a staff member who did a lot of the arts and crafts stuff. She got me into working with clay. And I'm the one who literally could not buy couldn't buy less than 40 pounds of clay. And so bought the 40 pounds of clay.
Yeah.
Put it in my backpack to carry it to the bus depot, which was about a block away, so that I could get it home so that I could work with clay at home. I didn't even use 10 pounds of it.
Oh no,
I
10
ended up
pounds is a
giving,
lot of clay.
I know, I gave the rest of it away
Oh yeah.
to somebody that hopefully could use it. But some part of me would like to be able to get back into doing some clay. And it's not like you're modeling clay, it was
Just the
actual
powdery
clay.
throwing.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. The wheel stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that you have to add water to because it's so hard.
Yeah.
And they literally come in almost like a brick, like the size of two regular bricks
Right.
is your 20 pounds.
Wow.
But yeah,
Well, kiddo, um, this has been
yeah.
a great discussion about Tamara's house, about your healing. We're going to have a panel sometime when we talk about things. Maybe the last week of this month would be fine. But talk about tools that each of us have used and tools that we've learned from places. So if anybody wants to get together, I'm sure Krystal will be on there. I'll be on there. Anybody else wants to get on there, email me. Okay. And I would be more
I
than
do
happy, or come onto my Facebook.
I do want to share one last story
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
This weekend that was planned of all these cool things that we could do. One of them we could have. Whoops.
Everybody okay?
Patches just scared herself.
Whoops.
She tried to jump up. I have one of their cat carriers on top of a tub,
Oh no.
and she tried to
Okay.
jump up, and it slipped underneath her. And are you okay, my girl? Come
Yeah.
here. Poor thing. She's been having troubles jumping up on things.
Oh no.
But if we wanted to, this art therapist would make a plaster cast mask. And I thought, okay, I can do this. And she started, and of course, as she started, I'm doing okay. As she got closer and closer to being finished, I shut down. Like we were talking and whatever, and then all of a sudden I just went silent. And she said she could literally tell at what point I disappeared and was just the shell left sitting there. And that was kind of interesting to have somebody talk me through what my body actually did and tell me afterwards, like, you were there and then all of a sudden you weren't. I had disassociated. I was.
Yeah. I'm having, I have seen Krystal's altar. I've met her. I got to drive her home to my house. We were in a movie, and a scary moment happened in the movie. And it wasn't just a moment. It was like a good 10-minute scene, and Krystal disappeared. And your altar showed up and protected you. And I can honestly 100% say Krystal was not there. There was no trace of Krystal. Krystal's a laugher. Krystal smiles. Even when she's upset, she laughs and she smiles, even if only to deflect the bad feelings. This altar doesn't.
Emotions.
Bad effort. Okay. But yeah, that's something that I can honestly say I have seen her altar, and I have learned to love. Actually, I think everybody in my family has now seen her at some point or another. So I know Doug did.
I know Doug did.
I don't know if Bethany.
I don't know if B has or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
She might have just a tiny, tiny bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know if she was home when you came home. So, yeah. Anyway.
That time, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a journey.
It has been a journey. Absolutely. Yes. So, yeah, we will arrange a time where we can get people together either the end of November, beginning of December. I cannot believe, I've got paint skins sticking my.
If you're wanting me on that panel, it better be on a Tuesday.
Okay. So either the 26th or December 3rd, I think would be good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So email me or Facebook me and let me know when you're available. I'll put us all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Misha. I understand why she might be hurt. But I also understand your need to not inflict that on her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as a mom, I understand that fully. But as a kid, I understand her position too. So yes, December 3rd. Does December 3rd work for you, Krystal?
I don't know. I can't. See,
it's this day here.
It's a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That works?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, I'll put us in for December 3rd. So we have at least 2 people and more if you're able to join and meaningfully add to the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you, Krystal. Thank you, my girl. Everybody, just so you're aware, this coming Thursday, let me get to the right page on my calendar. This coming Thursday will be the pre-recorded jewelry making session. Please come in, even though I won't be here. Come chat with each other, ask questions, and I will be able to answer questions perhaps even the next time I'm on. And on the 19th, that's the Tuesday after, Indigo is going to be talking about just a follow-up to her IPV discussion from a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, this is going to be an exciting few weeks. And I will see everybody a little later.
And Christmas is a-coming.
Christmas is a-coming. Christmas is a-coming. It's now It's now after Remembrance Day or Veterans Day. Depends what country you're in, or yeah. And now you can officially have Christmas stuff.
I was so glad that Walmart on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays has no music playing between 7 and 10 in the mornings. So I had that reprieve for listening to Christmas carols because they had already started before the silence started this morning.
Yes.
It's like, oh, goody. The next month and a couple weeks.
I'm marking on the 3rd healing panel right here. Okay, so yes, Misha, if your eye grains get better, let's pray that the eye grains get better. That would not be awful. And Indigo, looking forward to it. Krystal, awesome. And anybody else who has, even if you're not seeing this live, if you have seen this in replay, let me know if you want to be on the panel, because frankly, any tips and tricks for healing what works for me won't work for Krystal, won't work for Indigo, won't work for, or will work for, you never know.
Yeah.
Right? So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Krystal, for opening up again. I love the fact that for anybody who's been watching Krystal's full journey, look at her now compared to what she was 6-8 months ago. Honestly, you are a real warrior. You really are. And you have grown, and you've more than survived. You've thrived. And now through this journey here online, you've been able to teach others, perhaps get into their own little cracks of where they have to deal with their own emotions and such. So, yeah. I love you, my friend.
Thank you to everybody who is here tonight, and to those that will be watching this on replay. Thank you for giving the space for me to be able to share with you what I've gone through. And I pray that my words will help to bring healing to other people.
Yeah. All righty. We will see y'all I will see you Tuesday in a week, but you can join me with making some jewelry on Thursday the 14th. See ya.
I'll be there.
She'll be with me. All right.